Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to broadcasting 5 of our series Introduction to Agni Yoga. In broadcasting 4, we had talked about the law of evolution. From this follows the principle of hierarchy, which we shall be addressing today. I would like to remind you, we are not presenting any private knowledge here. Our broadcastings are rather a summary and utmost condensation of the teachings of the 15 books of Agni Yoga. May I ask a question beforehand? There are already more than 100 videos. Are so many really necessary? Is there any meaning behind this huge number? A common thread, a system, or a concept that underlies everything? Yes, it is good that you asked. In all the abundance of details, we must never lose sight of the overall direction of the guiding thought, which reads with one single term: new construction. All over the world, the new man, the immortal, the sixth race, is to rise up and to establish germ cells of the new world. Who says that? Agni Yoga says that. The rulers of this earth, the Mahatmas of the Brotherhood of Shambhala, say that. I say that. Above all, however, you too feel very clearly life itself, the necessity of the time, the progress of evolution demand imperatively that the old mortal man and the outdated old order disappear and make way for a new man and a new world. All our videos are cornerstones for this new construction. Appropriate them, put them into practice in your everyday life. Then you do participate in the great work of the Mahatmas. Much of what you teach, though, is theory. Yes. There are cornerstones of knowledge and cornerstones of action. You must first acquire a lot of knowledge before you can set about creating the new man and the new world. As long as people do not understand the foundations of existence, such as evolution and hierarchy, we will not get very far with the implementation of our great project. Thus, let us place upon the scales the most urgent concepts of the great approaching age: infinity and hierarchy. Agni Yoga is linked inseparably with infinity and hierarchy. Hierarchy is a key concept of the teachings of living ethics and the very basis for the new construction. Without acknowledging the hierarchic principle, we will be able to create neither the new man nor the new world. What do you mean by hierarchy? The term hierarchy has 3 meanings. First, there is a hierarchy of souls, the biblical Jacob's ladder, which ranges from the blade of grass via the Christ up to the supreme being which we call God. Second, the term hierarchy refers to a principle which runs above, leads, and below, follows. This maxim applies throughout the entire universe and governs the relationship between the different worlds and their inhabitants. Thirdly, hierarchy is an expression for the government of our planet, earthly hierarchy, and of the universe as a whole, cosmic hierarchy. This government ensures the enforcement of the supreme will, of the cosmic laws, of the cosmic order in all worlds, on all levels, the highest as well as the lowest. Let us now discuss the first meaning of the term hierarchy, the hierarchy of souls, the Jacob's ladder. The hierarchy is a string of pearls which loses itself in infinity. In the last broadcasting on the law of evolution we had said, everything from the tiniest atom to the mightiest sun lives, is animated and filled with a more or less high consciousness. That means everywhere in the universe, even beyond Earth, there is life. Today, we are smiling indulgently about the belief of the Middle Ages that considered the Earth to be the very center of the universe, around which everything else revolves. People are so imbued with earthly measures that they attempt to subject to them even the immeasurable. One should guard against improper conclusions, such as those that represent Earth as the center of the universe. Such conceit is not befitting an enlightened scientist. The idea, however, that in the whole infinite universe, life is to be found on Earth only, is just as childish and self-centered. It is also completely unscientific, for in reality there is not the slightest indication for this assumption. On the contrary, you must admit, if life has developed here, the same must be possible elsewhere as well. One must imagine all the stormy, violent cosmic turbulence in order to understand the humble position of our Earth. Some still believe that Earth is stationary, that it is the center of the universe, and that human life exists only here. Such misconceptions are absurd and harmful for evolution. Only a limited imagination is unwilling to envision that the most diverse forms of life, some similar to the human ones and others quite different, can and must exist elsewhere than on our planet as well. There is even egoism on a planetary scale. You often hear scientists declare that life exists only on Earth. They claim that Earth has an exclusive position. There are scientists who boldly insist that in all infinity there is no life except on Earth. It is not enough to call such a claim impertinence. Only the crudest egoism can bring forth such an ignorant concept. These scientists make no effort to examine the conditions that exist in infinity, but on the basis of their most limited observations, they judge all infinity. Of course, the myriads of all the other heavenly bodies are inhabited as well. As an unoccupied house rapidly disintegrates, a celestial body cannot exist in the long run without inhabitants either. A planet without life on it, like the moon, is dead. The inhabitants of heavenly bodies remains under doubt to this day. The reason lies chiefly in the conceit of man. He does not wish to admit incarnation in any conditions other than earthly. Fear before infinity is also a hindrance. Meanwhile, people should think of distant worlds as being inhabited. Thus let us diligently direct our thought to the distant friends, co-workers and protectors. The thought that distant worlds are populated is not a supernatural fantasy. Man will firmly tread the earthly path when knowing about the surrounding magnitude. Man looks up into the heavens some starlight night with the thought of the immensities of the spaces between those uncountable points of light and of those millions of worlds, doubtless inhabited, as is his own world, with innumerable races of beings. The search of the scientists for extraterrestrial life must be considerably expanded. We must not limit it to forms of life like the earthly ones. The great teacher often directed the gaze of his disciples to the planets, saying, "Many are the homes, and there is life everywhere." We need more imagination. There is an often heard phrase, "On this or that planet there might be water, and thus life." This shows the whole inadequacy of today's thinking. There may be alien, for example, more spiritual creatures, which do not require any water at all. People stipulate that the inhabitants of other worlds must exist in earthly bodies and dwell in earthly conditions. Only an undeveloped imagination can limit the universe to such a degree. Therefore, I so greatly emphasize the development of imagination as the basis of striving toward the higher worlds. If there is life everywhere in the universe, we are bound to conclude evolution takes place in the entire cosmos, not only on Earth. Evolution is a universal principle. It is not limited to our planet. It rains on the countless other heavenly bodies in space as well. There, too, takes place involution and evolution of the spirit. Development from apparently unanimated to ever more spiritual matter. Everywhere, lower forms of life are working their way up to ever higher ones. People are hopelessly unaware of infinity, but if they continue to believe that Earth is the center of the universe and that they are the only crown of creation, there will be a new convulsion of ignorance. Conceit is the grave of evolution. The planet Earth should not be belittled, but her true place amidst the grandeur of the infinite should be realized.